So recently I've been speaking about, or talking about, bloody hell, my use of the English language has severely degraded from spending so much time abroad. Scattered brain much, word salad much, absolutely. Anyway, so recently I've been talking about scenarios in the future, things in the future, problems between. I was speaking on like men and women, the kind of decoupling of reality, the expectations. People have unrealistic expectations. And I started with the example of like the current kind of gender dynamic in relationships now globally. But I was realizing like to myself, I'm talking mainly about the issues. I've spoken of the solutions, but I want to give very practical, on the ground solutions, actionable solutions rather than just vague solutions. So, my vague solutions with like the future are to kind of tortoise it and slowly invest for another 5 to 10 years, try and ride it out and let things compound. Unrealistic expectations, just be realistic about what you can do in life, um, and like the way people are going to live in the future, how to deal with that. So I'm gonna go through that and talk about like what I think is the play for the next 10 years maybe, and then the next 30 years, and then the next 50 years and beyond that. I mean, even that's stretching it. The next 10 years is about doable. But what I think is the best thing to do is to get whatever income you can, make whatever money you can, hustle, hustle, blah, blah, blah. Try not to be too selective. So, I don't know, you're aiming for $30 in your head, bring that down. Bring $30 an hour down to $25 an hour. Now, if it's absolutely essential because of your monthly costs and expenses that you have a certain wage, that's different. But generally you can survive on less than you think, and still put some money away for something, save up, do something. So be honest about it. Don't be afraid to take a job or opportunity that's slightly not as good as you expected. If you don't have perfectionist standards, so you're looking for factory work, you're going to get the minimum wage job. That's realistic. Try and aim for a bit above that. Don't aim for double minimum wage hourly, because it's not going to happen. And if for some reason you're making more benefits than the minimum wage, then I guess don't work. But then investing's going to be hard because you have to declare it. So be realistic about your opportunities. Think about what you want long term. So I'll give a couple of routes. I'll give the sort of family route, I'll give the investing route, and I'll give the adventuring route over the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years. So I will probably go the investing route for the next 5, 6 years. I am actioning a plan. Bit over minimum wage in the UK. Yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. I'm 34, I've got a load of skills. Can't do much better. That's life. Got to suck it up. Got to be realistic, right? Got to start somewhere. And I've spent a lot of time partying, having fun in my life, so it's reasonable. I've got to be realistic about it. But whatever, wherever you're at, wherever you can get in on the ladder, try and get in there. It could be a job. It might be a business. I'm not opposed to this idea of people selling something or making something on the internet with AI or whatever. It's just not my route. It's not. I don't think it's the most realistic route. But I'm saying whatever you can find, just find it. Try and save some of the money. Whatever you don't spend, keep your expenses low. I would say most of that you want to invest. Not in I don't think you should put it in S&P 500. I wouldn't put it in software companies, not over the long term anyway, because software is replicable. I would actually put it into like data center, electronic, power infrastructure. I would put it into real physical infrastructure, not real estate, which this probably runs contrary to the advice that most people are going to give you with real estate. I've made a video on that actually, on why real estate generally, I don't think it's going to be that good in the future. I think it's going to slowly go down in price, most property. So I don't think that's great, but I think Yeah, broad infrastructure, energy and AI infrastructure stuff. Maybe quantum tech if you're a bit of a gambling person. Maybe a little bit in S&P 500. Maybe a little bit in something with a high dividend yield. And I would suggest just doing that for 5 years, getting as much work as you can. Tax deductions, whatever tax deductions you can get or tax write-offs you can get, go for it. If you're in a country you don't think is going to go to war for 10, 20 years, join the reserves. If you're like a lower level worker, join the reserves because they will give you really good certificates. They give you like quite a lot of tax-free pay as well. They'll give you military training and like all kinds of cool stuff. So if you've got free time and nothing to do with it, you'll make money on the days you're with them. You can train. It grants you very good status with your government and with like within corporate jobs. You know, some jobs, especially like government jobs, will actually consider you regardless of like qualifications. They automatically have to consider you if you're in the military, and being in the reserve fulfills that requirement. Like I said, you'll learn a bunch of skills. You'll probably learn first aid, almost definitely actually. You'll learn how to navigate places. You'll do a ton of physical training, and you could get some really good certificates depending on what you do. So you want to become a reserve engineer, you're going to get engineering, mechanical skills. These are real life skills, a lot of them, like fixing a car. I can't fix a car. With YouTube and a few tools, maybe I could, but it wouldn't be easy. I couldn't just fix a car like right now. It would be very difficult for me. I wouldn't know what I was doing. I know a few things, but I just don't really know. Yeah? But, if I was with the reserves for 3 years as a reserve mechie, I probably more or less know how to fix stuff like that, which is a useful skill, and I get certificates to prove it on Civvy Street. So whatever I'm doing, I'd have extra stuff after 3 years. I would look for work. This is obvious, but just look for work that's got some kind of career progression. And it'd be more synergistic if you look for work that's got career progression and recognises certain military certs. Because if you get an employer who, they're paying you crap, but they're giving you certain certs and there's career progression, after a year, might be like like a supervisor or something, getting an extra 5-10% per hour. Doesn't sound like much, but it's good. You keep going past inflation with it. Plus, you're doing your national service. You might get certs that complement that. By the end of 2 or 3 years, you might be looking at a major salary increase. You spent 2 or 3 years investing in whatever, so you're getting crappy dividend returns and crappy appreciation. And then by year 3, you're probably a professional in a fairly niche market with a lot of certs, with quite a bit of experience. You do 2 to 3 years in that, and then you are a senior in that niche role for probably the next 7 to 8 years. There are going to be certain roles where they just won't be replaced by AI because they need a responsible person, so find that kind of thing. And by the time you finish that career and you've stopped investing, even within 5 years, you're going to be looking at a very nice dividend yield, a very nice portfolio. You'll probably have accrued some savings as well. You'll probably get, a nice state pension if that ever becomes a thing. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit hopeful. So, to me, that's for someone who doesn't want to have family, doesn't want to have venture. That should be the next 5 to 10 years, because, as I said, I think we're looking at LEV. We're looking at major life extension, major health span extension as well. So that 5 years, 10 years of diligent investing, sucking up, getting certs, working hard, it's going to pay off for the rest of your life, because we're going into a world that's hopefully deflationary because of AI, cost of goods and services going down year on year, and where it becomes more and more competitive, harder and harder to get even that entry-level job, even a factory job. It's going to be really hard in the future. and there won't be in the intermediary that there isn't going to be UBI or UHI, right? So when you finish up and you've spent enough time and you spent your 6-7 years blood, sweat and tears, by the time you finish that, your dividend income and your savings will probably see you free for a long time. As your assets appreciate, that dividend increases. So you'll probably have 2 or 3 years worth of survivalist savings after a 6-7 year work period. You'll have dividends that don't really allow you to live the lifestyle you've been living just yet, but enough that with the savings over 2 or 3 years, if you decided to do nothing for 2 or 3 years, they would almost match your income from the start or a bit past the start of when you started on that journey, and keep going up year on year because those assets appreciate, and therefore the percentage yield gives you a higher amount of base cash. Because the cost of goods and services has bottomed out, depreciating, that money's worth more. So year on year, you become wealthier, you're able to do much, much more, and you're completely independent, more or less. Things could happen. There could be a war, investments could go wrong. Nothing's perfect, but I think this is a pretty good middle of the road plan. Personally, I think in about, I don't know, maybe 4 years' time, we'll start seeing UBI in a lot of Western countries. 6-7 years, we'll start seeing it basically everywhere in the world, and then maybe 9-10 years, we'll start seeing stronger UBI, UHI, or universal UBS, Universal Basic Services. So that's the time you can kind of relax. Maybe, we'll see. This is just an idea in my head after all. But in the interim, the next 4 to 5 years will be chaotic in terms of financial and governmental institutions trying to control, well, the direction of society, essentially, in the direction of humanity. So that would be my advice on that scale. Now, in terms of you want to start a family, obviously depends if you're a man or a woman. You don't want for stress and work, and how much time you want to give to your kids. But over the next 5 to 10 years, I think you should probably do the same thing. I don't think there should be much modification to that plan, but you should be aware of opportunities with the other sex that could lead to some kind of stable living and that kind of situation. Now, probably by the mid-end of year 2, the female in that relationship is going to get pregnant. I wouldn't recommend stopping working entirely, but I feel like the woman in that relationship should get to a point where she can do part-time. Yeah. Now, on a double, the world's expensive and things are getting harder, but on a double income with someone doing full-time, doing a load of hours, and someone else doing part-time, it's doable because you don't get penalised for tax. If you're not married, you will once you're married because you're one entity under the law. But as 2 individuals, it's not really an issue. The other thing is use those links between your families. Use that network to get you the good jobs, to get you free courses. Governments all along the world provide free courses. There's free courses on the internet by loads and loads and loads of private institutions and NGOs, regardless of what country you're from, or government funding, that are just funded, ready for you to take, which aren't, for the most part, aren't going to be game-changing in your late career. They're pretty good early career, and it shows that you've spent your free time trying to get ahead, trying to learn something, trying to do something, trying to be a productive member of society, whatever. So from that basis, I would say utilize your network, pull things together, have some ground rules for each other and for how you want the future to go. I don't mean a 50-page document, but maybe just 5 or 6 rules each you try and keep to, some principles that will keep you going. Try and maintain good relations with relatives. Help them out, sacrifice a bit to help out the extended family because they'll help you out, they'll help look after the kid. Work as one big cohesive unit. And it's going to be, like I said, a similar thing. Your expenses are going to be slightly higher though, because you want to give that kid, when that kid's young, the time really. Once that kid hits 1.5, the person who's working more, wants to drop, 10% of that workload, you should pay for those holidays. It doesn't have to be expensive, but you want to make some nice memories. You want to think of some creative things you can do that you and your child or children will enjoy together. So you're not going to do as well as the solo, who initially first year is going to do terribly. They're going to be underwater because they're going to have so many expenses, be renting a unit on their own, they'll be trying to get certs on their own, no support system. But over time, by sort of halfway through second year or into the third year, they're going to overtake you. So you've got to be realistic about that. But you can still, get a mortgage together. I wouldn't recommend that, but you could still build up assets together. You've got the family, you've got a full network. So I would say, depending on and strengthening links with the familial network is really how you want to go about that. Because if one part of that chain falls, the rest of the chain just reattaches itself, pulls it back up. So that's the strategy there if you're trying to have kids or whatever. Just on the partner selection then, as a guy who's just starting out, or maybe in midway, but you're not, Mr. Super Millionaire, Super Buff, whatever. You're not the guy yet. You're not the man. Yeah, but you might be doing all right. You might not. Just be realistic. Don't try and find some 18-year-old virgin flower who's looking for this, that and the other and have these extremely strict rules and stuff. Have fun with each other. Be realistic. Your partner's probably had several partners, whether you're a woman or a man. Just be realistic about that, about what you want to achieve together. It's good to have rules. You wouldn't want your wife or husband running out to nightclubs every night, but going together I wouldn't do it because it's an expense, but going together every 4 to 8 weeks because you're young or whatever, just be realistic about it. You can't write off every single expense. Some people can. Some people are extreme enough and disciplined enough, but generally you should probably give yourself a few treats, and you should try and spend time together in that first year or so, as much as you can. Work in the same place, but have it so one of you is working, so you're working different hours at times, so you don't see each other constantly at the same place. Yeah, because that will get to you. And for women, I think if you're starting off as well, even if you're super beautiful, whatever, unless you want to go to Dubai and have millionaires poop on you or whatever, just be realistic once again. Try and find a guy not super ugly or something, not super destitute. That's not what I'm saying. But try and find someone who, if they're not, successful, they have that will and that desire to expand and to build with you. I think that's one of the probably biggest qualities to look for now. And then, there's all the other stuff is the personality stuff, the interest stuff, mutual things. It's not rocket science, yeah? So I think that's the second route with starting a family and making a family over 5 years. Third route then is adventuring. Now, this is not what I recommend during this period of time, during this kind of change that we have in humanity, because all the resources are being squeezed, the people are being squeezed, the environment's squeezed, the jobs are being squeezed, the money's inflating. This is not, in my opinion, a good time to spend money adventuring, drinking and partying. This isn't the best time in history to do that. So I don't recommend this path. But I would say what you want to do is probably be an annoying streamer, honestly. Because if you're the kind of person who's going to be partying constantly, going to a new destination constantly, if you can stomach the bureaucracy and bullshit of video editing and putting on a fake persona, most people, myself included, are just scrolling all day. You're not that, you might not be that interesting, but you're probably more interesting than seeing the same 500 movie reels and the same 500 opinion reels from random people, because you can show an actual destination or a crazy party situation, and even if you're not that interesting, the things you encounter are going to be quite interesting. So I actually think going this road getting working holiday visas in different countries and doing like 3 or 4 months of extremely hard labour and then blowing it all is the way to make this work over 5 to 10 years. Beyond that, I think you can survive it for about 4 to 5 years from where we are now. Beyond that though, because we may have very basic UBI by then, but things are gonna, they might just start getting cheaper in sort of 4 years time, but it's going to be hard. You're going to have no job opportunities or anything if you failed the blogging, the travel blogging or whatever streaming bullshit annoying shit you're doing. You're going to have no job opportunities or prospects because the market will be over for you. There'll be nothing left entry level wise really. So you won't be able to rebuild, you won't be able to get sort of future security or stability. You'll have run out of countries you can get working holiday visas from and good wages. So you'll be pretty much effed on year 5. So debt maxing is probably your only option. I don't recommend it because I don't think it's legal to recommend this. But I think the only way you'd be able to survive without going to jail or being institutionalized, because they'll pay for you, they'll pay for your everything for a set amount of time, is to just take out a shit ton of loans, borrow money off people, credit cards, debit cards, all that kind of shit. You could probably do another 5 years, so you could probably do 10 years of just winging it, but you'll have nothing. Well, you'll have a ton of debt and very, very little else over your lifetime as a result of that. And since we're in this sort of transition period where, you know, you could make not necessarily even astronomical wealth because of the opportunities, you could, but where you can potentially still invest and people are kind of shitty and boring and life's all the same, and if you just take action now, you'll get something. That's the kind of time we're in now. If you don't take advantage of that now, you're probably going to be, I feel, I could be wrong, I don't want to be a doomer, but I feel like you're going to be priced out of it forever. So if you're going to do a 5 to 10 year fun run, the first 5 years, like I said, probably won't be a problem, but debt is going to be your friend by the end of that. To be fair, if you did a 5-year mad run on social media and you posted 2 or 3 times a day and you did a live stream every day, honestly, even the most talentless, boring loser would probably make a lot of money, would probably be able to fund their shit this entire time if they were the kind of person who's not that nice, likes to create drama. Because people just scroll and watch stuff now, people don't do things now. Even me, I'm a super active guy at heart. I like to do stuff, but I fucking doom scroll. I waste time. And I am like the furthest demographic from that kind of racket. And even I am giving these people views to some degree, right? So you've got a pretty good chance if you're consistent and you don't give up. So if you're going to go that route, you've actually got to be mentally very like, this is going to work. The consistency of doing it is how you will achieve it. It's not like with a job, like, yes, you would have to, with route 1, you'd have to be consistent as in you turn up to work every day. Because it's a stable, guaranteed thing, as stressful as it might be, it's actually quite easy to do. But I would actually say it's harder to be consistent with posting videos and stuff. Because you have to do it for a long time. You have to be kind of interesting or find something that's interesting, edit well, you got to suck up, say, subscribe, donate, blah, 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 to actually get it done. It's very difficult to have the mental resilience to, you know, post every single day, 2 or 3 times a day, see barely any views for, you know, 1 year, 2 years until the algorithm eventually picks you up. So I think not losing heart is the biggest thing. Having heart is the biggest thing if you're going to do like a travel blog type thing or like a live streaming type thing, become one of these internet personalities. So that's honestly probably the hardest route mentally, and in terms of finance, that's definitely the hardest route to take. I think it's not the smartest option personally, but look, do whatever you want with your life. Anyway, that was the next 5 to 10 years. So what about the next 20 years? So I think if you can survive the next 10 years, you're probably going to be all right from there on. So if we get so this is my scenario. I think we'll get LEV, meaning indefinite lifespan, health span, that kind of thing. I think we'll have pretty good UBI, if not UHI, at that point. So you'll be able to just kind of relax. You won't be super rich or anything if you go on the third path. If you go on the first and second path, on the first path you'll be very wealthy because you'll probably be making double the UHI on dividends, yields, and have a massive asset value compared to the other two routes. Second route, you'll have, maybe double the UHI income. So that's still pretty good. On the third route, you have nothing. You have no utility or anything. So you're not fucked, but you're not going to live a fancy life if you've gone the third route. Regardless of which route you've gone, I think 10 to 20 years from now, we're not going to be dealing with financial issues necessarily. And some people say, oh, well, the environment, the World War III. Look, if we have, a massive world war, a bunch of plagues and viruses and natural disasters, 30%, 40%, potentially 70% of the population could die. So, and a lot of knowledge and resources will be lost. So there'll be plenty of jobs for you, plenty of opportunity. That's a reset, not like a reset in ideology or a golden age. That's just continue, that's fine. Not good, but you'll be okay. And then the alternative is the good scenario that I proposed. And then I guess there's another alternative. There's 100 million alternatives, but these are the most likely ones in my opinion. And then the other is catastrophic AI failure, in which case we're all fucked. So forget it. But let's assume we go on the good path. Really, the biggest issue is going to be, what the hell do I do with my life, and my time, and my things, and my blah, blah, blah. There'll be a million things to do and a million things to distract you. It will be a crazy, crazy period of time. You'll have enough money to not just live, to live fairly comfortably because of UHI and UBI if it goes right. And you'll have ample time. Now, I think the play here is to kind of do a mix of volunteering type stuff and just exploring and socializing. So let's say you've got your normal day, spend 3 to 5 hours doing some voluntary service. So I'll give you some recommendations. Tree planting and eco conservation stuff. That's great, I think. Childcare and mental health care service type stuff, counselling and helping people out, yeah? Because these are fairly rewarding things that make you feel like you have some value that you can contribute to society. So they give you an external value, yeah? External validation to some degree. But those are some examples. And then you're going to want to spend, again, 4 or 5 hours socializing at some crazy event. And there'll be loads of events because there'll be nothing to do. Some of those events will be outdoors. So I think there'll be just as many outdoor events. Maybe a few more outdoor events, but not as many as people think because the internet and virtual worlds will be so much better. But there'll be loads of virtual events and real events that you'll be able to get out to. And I think expanding your social network and having a community that aligns with your values is going to be very valuable, being a part of a community and, working together cohesively within that community. And then just traveling, just seeing things, just doing whatever you want. Now, that sounds pretty easy. Yeah, it sounds pretty easy. But it's not. There's nothing you can achieve that an AI can't achieve. So the kind of meaning, the kind of external validation, the kind of I've got to do this to get this, I've got to do something with my time, blah, 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 has eroded. It'll be gone, yeah? And it'll be harder for me than it will be for most people, because most people are probably younger than me. Anyone watching this is probably going to be younger than me. Because I've lived a life where my job is a reflection of my value to society to some degree. For myself, because I've travelled and been selfish in ways, I can get my own sort of internal meaning and validation. But there are things that I want to do. There is a need to do things and be a part of society that I feel, and I think most people will. So that's going to be hardest. I think if you're looking for actual money and actual jobs, I actually think human-centered farming and art will have a premium because everything will be, artificially manufactured anyway. So human-made products will probably be quite profitable. It might be a flex. It might not because there's so many people and everyone could do it. It might be a bit of a flex. So that might be the work left. Social care work, stuff like that is probably still going to be there in 10 years. Being an event runner and manager and coordinator is probably still going to be a thing, as niche as that sounds, and as easy as it sounds to be replaced by AI. I don't think it will be. There are certain people I've met, people I don't even like, who are just suited to that, and an AI just won't replace them in that way. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't predict the capacity of AI. So that 10 to 20 year, I think, is to do stuff like that. Now, the 20 to 50 year. At this point, we've probably certainly got UHI, if things have gone well. AI has solved basically everything. And so the interest in doing things is gone. There will be a few options. So one, I think, will be extremely immersive virtual worlds. I think that the latency between them, I think we'll be able to run like a virtual reality at 10 times the speed of regular reality, i.e. one day in virtual reality is equivalent to 10 days on Earth doing whatever you do in virtual reality. And there'll be like real life versions of Halo 3. There'll be some cool stuff, I think, in about 20 years in terms of that. So I think most people should just lose themselves in VR for 50% of the day and then spend the other 50% socializing, looking around, thinking about life, philosophy, and trying not to go too crazy. But that 20 to 50 year cohort, I think, is, or like sort of time range in the future, is when I anticipate us seriously colonizing other planets. So now I don't recommend this for most people, but for those who aren't afraid of death and would want to do something different that will, only be an opportunity for so long, I think space colonization, it's the next Wild West. So I think if you're a particularly adventurous person, that's where you want to be. Otherwise, honestly, just virtual reality, hang out with people, try and figure some meaning out, and maybe when the technology's better, do some interdimensional travel and go to your own custom-built universe. That might be a thing. I don't know. And I can't give you much more advice than that because it's just so far out. It's hard to predict that. The next 5 years there's like reasonable sort of trajectories you can analyze. The next 10 years again, kind of, but who knows? Over the next 20 years, starting to get difficult. 20 to 50 years, it's very abstract, very hard to make predictions that far out. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it.